Good afternoon, folks. My name is Bjorn, and I'm the technical director or technical evangelist for AppSense in the Nordics. I'm very happy to be here with my other technical director from the German team. And we also have with us in the room Gary from AppSense over here, who is doing a session tomorrow. Kind of a workshop.
Workshop tomorrow.
Yeah, with Benny.
Oh yeah, again.
So, I really couldn't resist this, because this is actually the first time Benny and Bjorn is back on the stage since I think it was 1982. They are. So we're going to sing this song for you now called Money, Money, Money. It's so funny in a rich man's world.
Really?
Yeah. Well, enough of the
guy a microphone.
One slide back, please.
Okay.
With the
Thank you. So this is going to be a little bit show business here now, but we also have to do some serious things. So what we thought we should do here today is give you a short recap of what AppSense is, primarily focusing on the mobile products, Mobile Now and Data Now. And Alex promised me a really fast network, so if the gods are with us, we can even show you a demo here on the network afterwards.
Yeah, what are the other demo?
So, how many in the room know about AppSense? And how many knows AppSense vision? You don't have to tell it to me, but does anybody actually know the vision?
Oh, wow.
One. Well,
You better do.
enable enterprise consumerization with people-centric computing. What the fuck is that? This is not something you want to explain to your mother, is it? So let's try to give you some background and try to explain what we actually mean about this kind of,
The message.
So it all started back in the AppSense cave, back in 1999 with this Uncle Charlie, who started the company, Charles Charlan, our chairman. And we started really early in I think it was 99, and the first products came to market around 2002, working closely with Citrix and trying to make products that complemented Citrix, where Citrix were not quite perfect. And back in 2002 we launched the first product, which is Application Manager, which kind of locked down the Citrix environment. At that time we were like 35 people in AppSense. And the year after we launched the second product called Performance Manager, which kind of CPU and memory optimized the Citrix farm. Remember, for those who remember 10 years ago, a server cost a lot of money, so you had to kind of utilize all the resources you had. So we made like 20-30% more users on the terminal server. Then we actually also launched a kind of a security suite, for those who remember back then. And then we start working a lot with these kind of profile problems that occur, profiles between Windows XP environment and the terminal server environment, and then Windows Vista came on with this version 2 profile. So we launched a product called Environment Manager during that phase, which kind of virtualized the profile. And then in 2010 we started to talk about user virtualization, and unfortunately for all IT people we don't virtualize the user. That would be really nice if we could do that, but let's talk about virtualize the user settings. So we talked about this donut where you put the user in the center here and you manage all these settings and things, policies and rules around the user. But we were missing something.
And marketing does not allow us to use the word donut anymore.
No. And we were missing something. We were missing data products and we were missing mobile products. So in 2011 we actually started to develop our own product, which we will describe later on, which is called Data Now, which is our Follow Me Data solution. And in 2012 we actually did our first and so far only acquisition, and we acquired a company called Rapsphere. And Rapsphere didn't even have a product yet, they just had a technology which wraps policies around iOS and Android applications, and this is also the thing we were going to talk about later on, which is this product called Mobile Now. So this is just a quick recap of the history, which leads us to where AppSense is today. We're around 500 people, Now we also created a new development department, which is situated in Santa Clara in California.
Just moved to Sunnyvale.
Okay.
Yeah, just moved to Sunnyvale because the office was too small in Santa Clara, so now the new office is in Sunnyvale. Still in
Details.
Silicon Valley.
Details. Silicon Valley, and
Silicon Valley.
the purpose of that development department is to make all these products that is not Windows products, because our main developments are still in UK, in England, developing all these traditional products, but all these guys in Silicon Valley, they are developing all these cloud, mobile, iOS, Android, Mac, all those new kind of products. So we have also expanded quite broadly, globally. So that's AppSense. And meanwhile, outside, in another universe that is outside the AppSense cave, we all remember back when AppSense started in '99, there wasn't even a Windows XP. My IT history started way before that, and I'm so old that my colleagues here call me Dad. So I'm happy to be in this club, Dad Club. Then we had mini computers and mainframes and things like that. But back in '99, it was I guess it was Windows 2000 we were running, and all of a sudden Windows XP came. But the point is, it was very a one-to-one situation. One person had his own PC. He actually drove into work to work on his PC, and to where we are today, where we have like a myriad of platforms and delivery mechanisms and an explosion of apps and devices. And this is actually creating a nightmare for IT. So the result for IT departments is really complexity. So all these kind of technologies listed up on the screen here is actually technologies we have to know about. We have to be aware of them in order to design our client platform. So this is getting a kind of a nightmare, and it also creates this silo effect where a lot of big companies kind of put people into the server silo, the VDI silo, the Citrix silo, the PC silo. And only yesterday I was in a meeting with a big Norwegian outsourcing company, and they are really struggling with this because they have like three different departments making a desktop to the users. There is the Citrix guys who make the Citrix desktop, and these are the senior guys, the really good consultants. And then we have the PC guys, which are the junior guys, which make another desktop to the same users. And they actually selected VMware View as well. So these are the VMware people doing the VDI desktop. So there are three different departments, not even talking to each other, making three different desktops to the same user. Nightmare. And of course the CIO's headache is to have control over all this and manage all this. So, if you look at what we are competing against today, it's all these cloud services, all these software as a service, all these Android markets and iOS markets. It's simplicity. This is what the users expect. So this has created this gap. And I think this is going to be our most important task in the years to come, to close this gap. How can we minimize the difference between what the users expects and what IT actually can deliver? And this is exactly what we're trying to do in AppSense. We're trying to approach this with kind of a people-centric view, rather than like we've done in 30 years, managing the computers and devices. And trying to make IT say more, yes, of course you can. Because as long as I've been in IT, it's always been, no, you can't do that here. You have to follow our rules. No, not this device. No, not that application. So we have to adopt, and we have to be more the guys who say, yes, of course you can, or else we will be bypassed. We know that the users will find ways to go around us. And this is how we look at it. We could take a kind of a vertical approach and manage not necessarily the devices and the applications and the data, but managing the policies, all the policies that IT want to apply to all these different silos, to all these different applications, to all these different data and devices and things like that, and also manage the user experience. So instead of working in silos, we kind of try to make software that helps IT manage this in a vertical way.
Our marketing had a great idea. They came up with the bring your own device, app, data, and so they said, bring your own dad. They thought of you, actually.
It's me, yeah. I know. Popular guy. So, we think we can do this by enabling IT to manage this across devices and then kind of balance this IT's needs to control with the user's wish to have freedom. And today we do this with 3 different products. We have the Desktop Now suite, which I will briefly walk through now, which is the product that handles the Windows environment. These are the products that we have had for years, the Application Manager, Environment Manager, and Performance Manager. And if we look at what kind of use cases or challenges we are facing with this, we will have to look at what challenges we need or what challenges we see when managing the Windows platform. And that's typically things like building the desktop, building a contextual desktop, building the start menu, putting icons on the desktop, all those kind of trivial things. But it's also about managing login scripts, it's about managing group policy objects, and it's of course managing roaming profiles or other types of profiles, so the user consistency is perfect. It's about hopefully prevent corrupt profiles. It's about managing data. How do you make sure that all the data from the users are following them all over? How do you optimize the platform? And also lockdown, how do you manage the security around this? How can you make applications context aware so the application change behavior depending on where the user is, how he's accessing the application and things like that? And how do you be license compliant? And last but not least, privilege management. How can you lock down the desktop, remove all the user privilege from the user and still elevate this user when needed? So this is things we do with our XP desktop, and this gets more and more complex when it comes to Windows 7, when it comes to Windows 8, we have to do it again when it comes to Terminal Server 2003, 2008, when it comes Citrix in there, when it comes VDI. So this is growing complexity. So our approach is move the user in the center, and instead of managing all these separate things, manage all these settings around the user. And this is exactly what Desktop Now does. It kind of sucks all these things inside itself, so you can manage all these things with Desktop Now. I'm a genius with PowerPoint, I know. So it's making a context-aware desktop, privilege management and all those things, and that will help us with some of our strategic projects like desktop optimization, like Windows XP migrations, like virtualization or application virtualization projects, even VDI implementations, and of course also self-service and automation of the users. So this is in a nutshell what Desktop Now does.
The automation of the user stuff, that's exactly what we're going to do in the workshop tomorrow. So this is what you will learn, because we're going to cover the API stuff that we have in our Desktop Now product, and we're going to cover some of the stuff that we do to create VHDs ready to go, and using the Microsoft Hydration Kit to build proof of concept environments.
Good. So, into the mobility stuff. As I said, this product is a result of an acquisition we did of this company called WrapSphere, and the product is now called Mobile Now, and it was launched earlier this year, so it's quite new. I think it was January or something. It was the first release of it. So why do we need an EMM solution or enterprise mobility management solution? Well, the answer is quite obvious, but I'm going to mention it anyway because that's what they pay me for. As we have seen a lot of users bringing their own device, that's one scenario, because with all these devices coming to market, users tend to bring these devices to work. So you need to handle that kind of scenario. Also, a lot of companies buy their own iPads and things like that and implement, like it says on here on the slide. SAP, for instance, have bought more than 14,000 iPads and delivered to their employees. Also, we have all these applications we have to manage, like Dropbox is a famous one. So this is kind of creating a need for this kind of things. And this was from Gartner last autumn. I was in the Gartner Group conference in Barcelona last autumn, and they're saying actually there is no complete solution out there who actually can manage both services and applications and policies and devices and security. There's a hell of a lot of MDM vendors out there, but it's really not about the devices anymore. It's more and more about the application and about the information. So Being out with some of our potential customers in the Nordics, this is actually real quotes from the customers, which they tell me in the meetings. We need to manage this bring your own scenario. We need to manage our corporate devices. We need a simple and easy way to admin and provision email, because email is still killer app number one. We've been using email since the Stone Age. So these are things that kind of is the background for what we are doing. And what is this mobile now? Well, first of all, it's simplicity. We have taken all our experience from the Environment Manager, Performance Manager, Application Manager, which are the most simple products in the world. That was a joke. You can laugh now.
Norwegian kind of humor.
And we really try to make this product simple. So it should be simple to test, simple to buy, simple to implement, and easy to onboard users and manage. And that is because this is a software as a solution, software as a service solution. It's a cloud service. So all the management stuff is laying in the Amazon cloud, and it's literally implemented in minutes. I tried this because our marketing told me it was just like 5 minutes, so I had to try this. And on our website, I will show you the link later on, you can actually go in and request a test demo version. So I tried that and filled it out, got a mail back, confirmed who I was. It spun up a new tenant for me. I onboarded 2 users, and it was literally 6 minutes or something, the whole process. So it's kind of really, really easy to implement and really, really easy to get up and running. And it's both MDM, MAM, and Mobile Information Management, Mobile Application Manager. We have all the traditional mobile device management stuff. You can turn off applications, you can lock down things, you can remove things from the device. But that's not the main important thing. The important thing is everything we've done around the application wrapping, the policy wrapping around the applications. So there are like 40-ish different policies, application policies, that you can wrap around the standard iOS application or a standard Android application. So you don't have to rewrite anything in the application. You take a standard iOS file, standard Android file, upload it to the tenant, and the application, the policy wrapping will be automatically wrapped around that application. So it's extremely easy for application developers to deliver an application to mobile now, and they don't have to rewrite anything on the application. And if the network here is with us later on, I will show you this.
Yeah, can I?
Not quite yet. No.
Quite yet.
It's also extremely important that this is in real time, so we could do immediately changes to the devices, because things can, a device could be stolen, or the device could be a place it shouldn't be, so you need to could be able to reply or enforce these policies in real time. So how do we do this? Well, we're actually kind of separating the device into a personal part and a business part. So we do not touch the personal applications at all. We leave them as they are. So you can have your private Twitter and mails and Angry Birds and what have you on your iPad. We do not touch that. What we do is kind of building fence or a sandbox around the business applications. So they are then living in an isolated, encrypted area. They are enforced with these policies that we push out, and there's a separate authentication, so you have to create your own PIN code. So when I if I, for example, lend my iPad to Benny, he can play with my Angry Birds and look at my pictures, but he will never be able to start my business application because it's my own PIN code on them. So it's totally isolated from the private part of the iPad. So what is the user experience? This is what I will show you here on the demo now. This is how a user onboards himself. He typically gets sent a link or goes to the company intranet site, and there is literally one button to press, and that's the install mobile now for iOS. And then all of the process is 100% automatic, or actually the user has to click install a couple of times. But that's all the user have to do, and then he get presented with the corporate app store. And this is the app store where I, as an administrator, push out the application that I want my users to use. So these applications again are secured and also built in a kind of a data leakage prevention. So I'm not able to copy content. If I, for example, open a mail and copy some text, I'm not able to paste that into a private application like Twitter or Notes or anything else. So it's also built in a form for data leakage prevention. Yes. So this is briefly the architecture. If you set up this proof of concept or this test site, where you have the Mobile Now tenant, which lives in the Amazon cloud, and we have put up a hosted email connector, so you can also test that your email actually is working. In a full-blown production environment, it will be probably more like this, where you have the email connector and also the Active Directory connector inside your own DM set, so you could synchronize with both AD and your mail. So this is the link for you if you want to try it. It's on mobilenow.appsense.com/try. And as I said, it's a full-blown version. There are no limitations in the functionality. It's a full-blown version, and it's limited to 30 days. So you could easily get on and try it for yourself. So then, let's see if this network is with us. What I first would try to do is to get this iPad on the net, just to show you how to onboard a user. And now, Alex. No. Oh, yes. Ooh.
Look at that.
Fantastic. So this is actually the link I got in an email to this Mobile Now site, and it should now probably start up this website. How is the bandwidth here, Alex?
Good.
Good? Good, okay. Let's trust you on that.
So that's the entire installation sequence that happened now.
Yep. It's like a winter day in Norway.
It's probably installing. It's you've downloaded everything, isn't it?
Now it should present me with this start button now, but let's try again. One more go. There we go. So I press this button, and the first thing that happens now is that it will install these MDM profiles. So I just have to say install and accept these things, and then it asks me for my PIN code on my device, so to verify that it's actually my device. If I didn't have put in a PIN code, I would be forced to do it now, because we enforce a PIN code for the device in order to protect it. And what it's now doing is installing this MDM profile. So now that's the first part of the installation, and the second part now is the installation of this could you call it application store or MAM function, which will install my business applications. And again, it will now come up sometime to prompt me to install the Mobile Now client itself, or Mobile Now application. You know,
You really took the maximum risk to install it live on stage,
Yes.
and if it doesn't install, there's no demo. Wow.
no, I am so old.
Oh, danger seeker.
Yeah.
I want to charge your iPad next time too.
Oh, it's still 26%. Yeah. He's fine. He's fine. No progress bar.
You might be right.
Are you on this Wi-Fi?
No.
No, he gave me a private network actually.
Should be fast.
Yeah.
Should be fast.
stuff still work?
Fast. The Wi-Fi catcher.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go.
What we can do is you temporarily switch back to the presentation. So I do the data now stuff first, and,
Yes.
and then until then your
Can.
stuff may be installed.
I can.
Yeah, let's do it that way.
Can.
So we changed the sequence a little bit. We're waiting until Mobile Now installs on his iPad, and while we do that, I got to introduce you to Data Now. So Data Now is going to be part of the presentation that Bjorn will be doing within his iPad, because Data Now is going to be part of the Mobile Now application set that he has in his App Store. But before he can demonstrate that, what is Data Now? What was the idea about Data Now? And it was about follow me data across multiple devices. And it was also about the notion that we want to make sure that you can use the infrastructure that you have on premise. Because it was clear that something like Dropbox is our competitor on that side. Not only because we don't like Dropbox that much, it's also about, as an IT administrator, because of the security risk it exposes, but also we want to make sure that our users can use our own services in pretty much the same way as they do use these consumerized services that they find out in the market. So this is why we need that kind of technology on premise. And as I said, it's against the Dropbox thing, data leakage. And in order to have that, we also want to make sure that people don't use USB sticks, that they are not challenged by VPNs. So this is all that we wanted to overcome with Data Now. And it is very simple to explain, because what you have in your backend infrastructure typically is a file server based on Microsoft technology. So we have a Microsoft file server. Probably not really running on a Windows server, because you have so many third-party vendors that offer you file servers in the Microsoft style. So SMB is what you typically have in the back end. The other thing that you have is SharePoint. You may have FTP. You may have sources that support WebDAV. And what we do is we simply bring those technologies to the outside of the premise, and using the different devices that users prefer to use, like an iPad, like an Android device, and also like Windows PCs that you carry around with you. So like I do with my laptop, it's more like a mobile workstation here, and then some of you may have smaller footprint Windows devices that you carry around, and this is exactly the target audience that we have. The infrastructure is fairly simple. We build a virtual appliance that sits between the outside world and the internal devices that you have on premise. So it's the existing storage that you have. It's an existing Active Directory. So we connect to the existing Active Directory, and on the outside we connect to all the different devices, as I mentioned earlier. So the thing is, the initial design was that we wanted to expose the home drive of a user, because that's the most important thing that users want to have. Because what they do is they typically travel with their iPads, and they want to just see the documents that they've created in their enterprise environment. They just want to look at documents. And in the past, they had to use a USB drive, or they had to copy all these documents to Dropbox. The thing is that users do not copy their documents to Dropbox because they like Dropbox so much. It's just that they want to use the documents. Now, if we offer them the opportunity to have the same experience as they have with Dropbox, they will not start copying the stuff. They will just use it from the place where it is. So that is the simple idea. So what happens is the user logs on, he authenticates against the existing Active Directory account that is managed in the virtual appliance, and then he has access to his data, his documents, on the device that he prefers to use in that particular situation. Now we extended all that for an Enterprise Edition, and the Enterprise Edition is ready to be released very soon, and this allows us to extend all that. So let me show you what that looks like. Whoa. So I want to show you, this is already the server, the backend infrastructure. So I have a direct connection to one of those virtual appliances. In this case, it runs on one-on-one. So we are also able to do that for demo purposes, to run it outside our premise, to just be able to connect through any network that we want to use. And this is the web client that exposes the folders that are provided through Data Now. And you see I have my home directory, so if I click my home directory, it will just show me what's in there. But I have other, and this is a new functionality that we introduced with the Enterprise Edition of Data Now. So we have multiple other map points that we can expose. And this is very, very convenient, because suddenly you can just bring together teams that they're able to share data using those map points. And this is how it looks like in a web browser. And I'm going to give you a brief view of what it looks like if you use a Windows 7 machine. So I have a Windows 7 machine here. So you see here, it's the Data Now share. It's pretty much the same thing. If you click on demos, you will find some of the information in here. If I go to my home directory, I will find that one file that was in there. If I want to look at what it looks like on my local machine, I just open the preferences. It gives you an idea what kind of installation or management experience the end user has. So it's not a lot that the end user needs to do. You provide your login ID. You have to provide the name of the server in the back end. And you have some general settings up here. So it's not much that the user needs to do here. It's more interesting to take a look at the backend, because the backend allows us to configure the system very dynamically. And you see, it looks very different to our traditional products that we have. It has a much easier look and feel to interact for the administrator. In particular, we want to take a look at the individual configurations. So what you see here is that, well, it's got an IP address and all that kind of stuff. It's got a connection into Active Directory, so we need, for that we need a bind account or a connector account. It's not an administrator's account. It's just an account that is allowed to read through the individual objects in Active Directory. So that's all that is required. It's not a very tricky account, so you just create that bind account within your Active Directory, and the Data Now appliance connects to that particular account and reads all the information. So this is how we find out what the home directory of a particular user is, and we map that home directory through the virtual appliance. So that is something, we have an SSL certificate that we have to provide to make a secure connection. We have the admin users here, which is not so interesting, but we have the map points. And this is exactly what you've seen earlier, all the different map points. You see here the home directory. That reads from Active Directory for each individual user, while the others, well, they can assign to groups of users that they can use the internal infrastructure. If I edit that, you see that I can define if I only download files in that moment when I want to access those files, or if I want to replicate the files all the time. So you can decide how much network traffic you want to generate. You also can decide what you're going to do with devices that may not have enough local memory to deal with large files and folders. So let's cancel that. And well, there are some advanced things for backup and restore the virtual appliance. a lot more interesting is what you can do on the policy side, because we position ourselves for all our products that we have that we are very strong in policy management. And now looking at the different policies that we can configure here, so you see that we can find out what kind of end device are we looking at, which kind of end device is connected, and we can change the policy, how we deal with an iPad, how we deal with an Android device, how we deal with a Windows PC. So we can make that differentiation. We can decide if we want to allow people to log on from different IP address ranges, what we do if we have failed logon attempts, and then we can move through the individual map points and decide what kind of policies we want to apply to these individual map points. So what are we going to do, for example, for the demo map point in terms of, do we want to allow Windows access to that particular map point or not? And we can apply also Active Directory OUs to the individual map points, so that we can have policies that are controlled through Active Directory embedded in that. So it gives you a lot of flexibility to allow your users to have access to data that you manage on-prem. And all the different users and devices here. So you see, it's fairly simple to configure and to manage. So this is the administrator user experience. And at that point, I want to hand it over again to Björn. Did it install? Kind of. Okay, now comes the tricky part. So we'll see if you will be able to also experience what data now looks like when we look at it from the perspective of mobile now.
But what I can do is just, as Benny did, show you a little bit about the management console, because I think we have network on this PC at least. Yes, we have. So this is how the console looked like. It's, as I said, a software as a service. It's a web-based tool. So here is where I kind of defined my user groups and my users. In this demo site here, I've only created local users, but in a production environment, you would typically have this AD connector, so you will import all your user groups from Active Directory. And what's also interesting is this policy settings. We have, of course, all these call it device policies, where you can manage all typical things like turn off the camera, like disallow FaceTime, disallow screen capturing, all these device things are.
To be very clear, we are using all the different devices, types of devices. We're using what the underlying operating system allows us to control.
Exactly.
So this is what's pretty similar to all the other vendors out there that do device management, because they only can do what the operating system allows them to do, what iOS allows them to do in terms of turning off and on things.
Yeah. So that's kind of bread and butter, but what's really interesting is these application policies, and these application policies are not applied to devices but applied to applications, iOS applications, or very soon also Android applications. And here we could do things around, for example, if this device is jailbroken, then we will block, as a default access here, block access to all the business applications. And I can have here very easily select and change if I want just to give the user a warning, or if I actually will allow them to run the business application. And just to make it perfectly clear, we're not blocking the device itself, because the user owns the device, but we're blocking access to the business applications. We can also create application blacklists. So if, for example, a certain application are installed on the iPad, then you can also block access to the business applications. And here is this application authentication, where you put the requirements for need of a PIN code or a password each time you start an application, or you could, for example, like I did here, select to allow single sign-on. That means so you don't have to type the password each time, or PIN code each time you start a business application. It will be enough to PIN code the first one.
Yeah, to do it once.
Yeah. Also, we have some policies around offline, so we kind of forced you to require a PIN when the device is offline, and also an offline time limit. So, for example, if the device is lost or stolen, you don't want anyone else to be able to start those applications. And we also have some policies around geolocation, around allowing or disallowing other applications to start this application, or this application to start other applications. And also a section around this data leakage prevention I'm talking about, so you can decide if this application is allowed to copy outbound and into another application. So for example, you can deny this copy operation from your corporate email into the public application.
I mean, how that works is very simple. We encrypt the data, and we make sure that the encrypted data cannot go to the the consumer-style applications. So we block that communication, and that makes sure that the data cannot leak out if you configure it that way. It's up to the administrator to decide if he wants to allow this or not.
We also have some device configuration, which is kind of interesting. So you could, and this is what we do, for example, when we pre-configure email configs for the users. So I have created here one email config for the native email client. So I just push out this configuration to the user during the onboarding process, and then automatically his work email is set up.
So that's really important to note. We are using the native email client that comes with the iPad. We can, as an alternative, select that we want to use an extra email client. So it's up to the administrator, or in the end the user, to decide which of the email clients he or she wants to use. And that gives most users a very native experience, because they are used to using the built-in email client, and we are able to isolate, well, a portion within this native email client, so that you differentiate between your private emails or your personal emails and your enterprise emails. And you're still using the same tool, which is, for most users, the natural way of interacting with an iPad.
Yeah, and of course I also can create other types of configurations, like VPN configuration. I could push out certificates, I could push out the wireless network settings, so the device is completely configured for the users without the user intervention at all. If I go back here now, I think we actually have the client up and running. So finally, we have installed this Mobile Now thing, and this is what the user will see. This is the Mobile Now kind of application store. It's here all the applications that I have published to this user. And the user typically installs an application exactly the same way he does from Apple Apps. So just click on a link, and the result will be these applications here. So I know
there are more applications in this store, but this is a pre-selected set of applications this particular user sees and can select from.
Yeah. So I have, as we're talking about Data Now, I've installed the Data Now iOS app here. So if I click on this one, it will take me into the Data Now store. And this is typically the first thing I see is my home directory. But I also have some common area here, like the core sales document, the employee docs. But inside home documents, this is the same thing.
Yep.
I will see when I map my H drive on my PC at office. All my documents.
Like the stuff that I just showed you. He's using a different tenant, so he has a different set of map points that I had, but conceptually he has his home drive and the other map points that were published for this particular tenant.
Yeah. So also, as if we jump back to this App Store, I can show. So these are the applications that are available for this user now, and we haven't discussed applications, but in here I have an app catalog, and here is the applications that I can choose from to publish to my user. So I simply just select an application, for example this one, and click feature for group, and I can enable that in my, I have made one bring your own device group, and I put all the users belonging to bringing their own device there. So I could select this and save, and then this new application immediately will be available in my app store. So you can see up here I have different app stores.
Okay. We're done with time. Let's wrap up.
Let's wrap up.
Let's wrap up.
Okay, wrap up. Oops.
Let's jump to the end. Demo. Good. I mean, you've seen what we're doing. We enable the IT to manage policies across all the different devices. That's the major message that we send out. Not only the devices, also apps and data. And it's about choice for the user. So that the user can decide what device he wants to use, how he wants to use the data. But it still gives the IT administrator some control back. And this is exactly what it is. Only talking about policy in public is not very sexy. And we know that. So our marketing has to come up with new names for what we do. But basically, it is giving IT admins a set of policies that they can apply to make the users happy. Because policies are not only about limiting users. It's also about giving them new options. But they are context aware. So that we can find out, oh, the user is using that particular device. We're going to go that far with the documents that it can use and interact with. While if he uses another device, he can have more options, more capabilities. And this is what it's all about. So we are closing that gap between those different worlds, like the IT world on the one side and the consumer world on the other side.
So this is how IT guys feel. You still have the control over the users, and this is how the user feel. They feel they kind of have freedom to do.
That's our mission. So if you have questions, we will hang around here for the next days. I think it's going to be another coffee break now. So we will be here. So if you have questions, feel free to just come by and ask all the questions that you have. Thank you.
Thank you.